Hello, everyone. Welcome to Moment of Clarity. I'm Lee Camp, and the leaks have revealed that we were closer to nuclear war than we ever knew. They didn't tell us of the moment that we were on the brink of nuclear war, and now the Pentagon leaks have shown us just how close we've gotten during this insanity, which many of us have been calling it insanity since day one. But we're ignored and censored and suppressed and pushed off of all the main pages, main networks, main outlets, etc. Anyway, I'm going to get into that and so many other stories. I feel like it is time to go through many of the leaks that have come out in the Pentagon leaks that have been largely ignored, largely put aside so that we can spend our days, yelling about what Donald Trump said, or maybe yelling about how evil the leaker must be, rather than actually discussing what's in the fucking leaks and the fact that they shouldn't be private to begin with. Because I don't know, maybe we should know what our government's doing, huh? There's an idea. Just spitballing. Maybe we should know what our government's doing. I don't know. I don't know where that is in the Constitution, a right to know what the fuck they're up to. But all right, so I'm about to show this clip. Before I do that, just please click subscribe. Please click thumbs up. Please make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you have to hit the bell icon after you subscribe, because they try and make it as difficult as possible to actually find out if I put anything out. Oh, and recently I have just started putting up a lot more shorter clips on each topic. So if you can't make it for the hour live streams every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, then I hope you will at least go to youtube.com/moment of clarity or rumble.com/Lee Camp, and you can look at all the different topics under the video tabs on YouTube. And then pick the topic that's right for you, that you got I got 5 minutes to kill. Let's learn something. How about that? And you just you fit it into your schedule like that, which I get is a lot easier for a lot of people. So this is Joe Biden just not long ago, and you'll see why this clip matters. Joe Biden just a few months ago, about a year ago. Let's listen.
We will not fight the Third World War in Ukraine. Putin's war against Ukraine was never be a victory. Democrats are rising to meet the moment, rallying the world on the side of peace and security. We're showing a strength and we'll never falter. But look, the idea that we're going to send in offensive equipment and have planes and tanks and trains going in with American pilots and American crews, just understand, and don't kid yourself, no matter what you all say, that's called World War III, okay?
There's a few things about that clip that are amazing. First of all, that we know we are doing those things, but you notice he had to add in there there's a lot of funny things about that clip, not just the fact that he can't speak words anymore. I know I stutter a lot, but I do it for fun. Okay, it's kind of like the words drool out of his mouth. We're not gonna fight. We will not fight him on the World War III. It's sad. It's elder abuse, really. But that's not really the point. The point is there's a lot of things in this clip that are just amazing and infuriating at the same time. I mean, of course, we're putting us on the brink of World War III. That is what you do when you have two nuclear powers, the U.S. and Russia, at each other's throats, when you have created a proxy war that is between the two, like literally physically between the two. And furthermore, in order to make his statement not an outward lie from the beginning, you notice what he has to add. He goes, we will not be sending in planes and tanks and trains. Apparently he thinks we send in army trains to fight wars. The USS train, the USS Choo Choo that has been plowing its way through Ukraine. You guys are all familiar with that, right? Old Uncle Sam Choo Choo. Planes and tanks and trains. But if he were to just ignore the trains part, if he were to just have said, we're not going to send planes and tanks and weaponry into Ukraine, end of sentence, that was a lie back then. That would have been a lie the moment he said it. So instead he said, crewed by Americans. That was the key. We're not going to send, as if, why is it even fucking matter? Why is it even a difference? We're not going to send planes and tanks and fighters into a conflict that is not our own, that we're supposedly not at war with, right? We're not technically at war with Russia, they tell us. So, but if you are sending those things in there, then you're part of the war. You're fighting the war. You are the war. Like, we are at war in Ukraine. And of course, that puts us at it in many ways is World War III. But of course, we don't call it World War III until it spirals out and all these other countries get involved, which of course is the point of NATO. NATO is a military pact. Hey, you're going in there. I'm going in there. And then everybody says that. And then we all end up in it fucking at once. And so here he is, and we will not, whatever you think, this is not World War III and isn't even close to World War III. But of course, we know it has put us on the brink of World War III. And now these leaks from the Pentagon, while the mainstream media spends most of their time just going after the leaker, right? That's their standard operating procedure. Don't actually talk that much about what's been revealed in these goddamn documents that show us how terrible our government is, how corrupt our government is. We're not going to talk about that, but we'll talk a lot about how this 21-year-old, oh, what a dick face he is. Oh, this guy is what a dick. Just a dick. But now we know from the leaks, and I realize this is a almost everything I'm going to be showing is mainstream. Well, actually, I wasn't going to show that one first, but that one works too. U.S. forces are on the ground in Ukraine. That is what one of the leaks shows. And I realize this is from a mainstream media source, BBC. I'm also going to be going to the Washington Post and New York Times in this episode. And so it's not that the mainstream media doesn't cover these at all. Obviously, you can see they're covering them a little bit. But there's a big difference between one article and the nonstop pounding that they do when they really want to propagandize you. This stuff, when they cover a story like this or a story like some of the other ones I'm getting up to, they put that, they do it once, they put one article out, and then they try and shift the discussion over to this 21-year-old leaker who, oh, how dirty he is. They switch it over to that, and they ignore this one story they put up. So why even put one story out? If they're so corrupt, if they're so terrible, if they don't want you to know about this, why put one story out? It's to make them seem legitimate. It's to legitimize them, I think, in their own heads, but also to us, so that they can say, hey, we covered it. We did a report on it. Oh, my goodness, did we? It's the Christmas wreath on the pedophile's home, all right? It's there to make you not suspect things, not realize how fucked up it is, okay? That's what these stories are. These are the mainstream media, Washington Post, New York Times, the BBC, all doing this coverage so that you don't open that door and see what's behind the Christmas wreath and say, hey, this looks really fucked up in here. So as Biden is saying we will not have troops on the ground, there are Western forces on the ground. Now, they are tiny numbers compared to what we're normally involved in, but they're still there. The UK is among a number of countries with military special forces, which I hear, I've been told by people in the know, that does not mean mentally challenged forces. But I can't verify that. Okay. I haven't been in the military. So they very well may be mentally challenged forces, but I'm told that in this case, special means something else. Special forces operating inside Ukraine, according to one of dozens of documents leaked online. According to the document, dated March 23rd, the UK has the largest contingent of special forces in Ukraine with 50, followed by fellow NATO states, Latvia and France. Who knew Latvia was getting so heavily involved? I've never trusted the Latvians. They always, I don't know what they are. I could tell they were up to something with their kebabs. Do they actually have kebabs? I don't know. I just had to find something. France has 15 special forces there, the US 14, and the Netherlands 1. And I'm pretty sure this is, when they say special forces and they're giving the number, I think they mean literally number of people. So there's one dude from the Netherlands, which is just really sad. Just one guy standing around being like, I think I'm outnumbered. And the U.S. has argued when these documents came out and the U.S. had to explain, why do they have boots on the ground? Why do they have special forces in Ukraine when they said they don't have special forces in Ukraine? Why do they claim it's just to protect their embassy? But the point doesn't really matter. These are, I believe these fellas wear boots and they're on the ground. So by any stretch of the imagination, they are boots on the ground. And UK has 50. And this goes exactly against everything Biden said. It goes exactly against his warnings that this would not start World War III. Because we would not have boots on the ground. The numbers of personnel may be small. The other thing that doing this, even if those special forces are not involved in anything, which as if the U.S. Special Forces has ever done anything where they're not involved in something. But even if they weren't, it increases the chance that something happens where Russia or friendly fire or whatever kills one of these guys. And all of a sudden you have U.S. Special Forces murdered by Russia. And what does that spark off? It's incredibly dangerous to have these people in the war zone while they're not part of the war. The number of personnel may be small and will doubtless fluctuate, but special forces are by their very nature highly effective. So again, not mentally challenged, I think. Their presence in Ukraine is likely to be seized upon by Moscow, which has in recent months argued that it is not just confronting Ukraine, but NATO as well. I think they've argued that since the beginning. What do you mean argued in recent months? I think everyone's known that since the beginning. So here we are with boots on the ground when Biden said there wouldn't be no boots on the ground. It's almost like Biden lied to us. Oh, it's almost like he lied to us. But that's another thing that these leaks show is the immense amount of lying done by the U.S. government, including the amount of lying about how well Ukraine's doing in this war. Many of the leaks have shown that Ukraine is not doing well, struggling to say the least. And we're supposed to believe these protestations by Biden, by the military, by the Pentagon saying, oh no, they're doing great. They're about to make a comeback. Any day now, they're going to make that comeback. It's like people said for years about Nick Nolte. I don't know, but thanks for the donation, TNT. Really appreciate that. Okay, I want to get to, so let's see that clip from Biden one more time, because it also has to do with the next one of these leaks that I want to share with you. But let's see it one more time, because the amount of lying and what these people say matters. And, this is not, Biden's a Democrat, but these two parties are the same. They lie to us equally, an equal amount. It's all endless lies told us. We are nothing but fleshy.
We will not.
Sorry to hit play right there. It's a weird word to hit play accidentally right after. We are nothing but a fleshy, unwashed masses to them. They do not see any need to justify their behavior to us, and therefore their justifications of their behavior are all lies, and they don't care. They don't care at all. And it is not. Here's the problem: you have groups of the left that are so eager to just go after Joe Biden that they're leaving the Republicans alone. No, it's both of them. All right, it is both groups are just corporate parties. It's a corporatocracy. We live in inverted totalitarianism, and these people see no need to actually give their true actions, their true motivations, their true beliefs. None of that. Not for a moment do they care about giving us any of that truth. And it is all, I mean, the level they go to manufacture consent, to manufacture our beliefs, to manufacture this propaganda. And of course, the mainstream media, despite the fact that I am quoting from some mainstream media articles in this segment, they're courtesans. They're there to facilitate this, to facilitate the lying that is done to us in order to prop up an empire that has killed millions. And people don't say that enough. The U.S. empire has killed millions. And I'm sorry to be repetitive. Did I mention millions? 6 million just in the global war on terror. 6 million just in that one area. And that's not including all the sanctions and economic war we have on so many other countries. Back to the point. Let's see the stumbling octogenarian again.
We will not fight the Third World War in Ukraine. Putin's war against Ukraine was never be a victory. Democrats are rising to meet the moment, rallying the world on the side of peace and security. We're showing a strength and we'll never falter. But look, the idea that we're going to send in offensive equipment and have planes and tanks and trains going in with American pilots and American crews, just understand, and don't kid yourself, no matter what you all say, that's called World War III, okay?
And I mean, okay, let me get to my next point. About to get pulled off pulled off from the thread here again. But okay, so you see Biden saying that, and here's how close we got to World War III. That was not told to us, but now we've learned about it from the leaks. Russia nearly shot down a British spy plane near Ukraine, leaked document says. And although this is from the Washington Post, yet again, this is an article where they have one article and they kind of hide it behind everything else, and they try to direct you to the other ones. And this should have been nothing. The news cycle should have been nothing but this story for weeks. And this is not a story about evil Russia. Yes, I'm not saying there's no blame to go around. It's not that this blame is only on one side. But this is a story about how close we are to World War III. If a U.S. or UK or NATO plane gets shot down by Russia, then all of NATO will be by charter, by their own designation of how the NATO system works, will be drawn into the conflict full scale. And you don't like if a UK plane, a spy plane, gets shot down by Russia. Do you think that these leaders, the same ones I was just talking about, do you think they're going to be sane and calm enough to go, hey, let's back off? Maybe it was an accident. Maybe we're on the border of Russia with spy planes. And maybe we shouldn't obliterate everyone over this. No, I wouldn't trust these people to de-escalate a fight at a little league game. They don't de-escalate shit. All they do is escalate. I once saw a girl in a t-shirt that said, down with the D. And then it said, destruction of patriarchy, or I love the D, destruction of patriarchy. And I like that t-shirt, but I feel like there should be another one that says, I love the D, de-escalation, because we could use some of that. We could use some maturity, but we won't get that. And so in these near misses, it's just, honestly, I mean, let me know in the comment thread. Do you think this is the closest we've been to nuclear war since the Cuban Missile Crisis? Because you have nuclear powers in a proxy war with planes flying on each other's borders, fighter planes, spy planes. You don't know the response that is going to happen if one of these gets shot down. And this happened, and we were not told about it. A Russian fighter jet nearly shot down a British surveillance plane last year, according to a leaked U.S. military document circulating online, an incident more significant than was previously disclosed, and that could have drawn the U.S. and its NATO allies directly into the Ukraine war. The near miss occurred on September 29th off the coast of Crimea. The document, one of dozens in a trove of leaked Pentagon documents, has triggered a justified investigation, refers to the incident as a near shootdown of UK RJ, a reference to the rivet joint moniker, common for RC-135 reconnaissance planes. British Defense Minister Ben Wallace disclosed the incident to Parliament's House of Commons in October, saying that two Russian Su-27 fighter jets had intercepted the RC-135 in international airspace over the Black Sea, flying recklessly. With one plane coming within 15 feet of the British. So I love this is a little bit of propaganda. So these Russian jets are flying recklessly, even though they're on their own border, right? I know they say it's international airspace, but it's international airspace next to Russia. How would the U.S. respond if there were Russian jets in the international airspace off the coast of D.C., off the East Coast? Do you think we'd be like, listen, it was international airspace. Let's just let them do whatever they want? Fucking no. We'd lose our shit. It'd be pandemonium. We'd probably shoot them down. We'd probably just go running headlong into nuclear war. And so they come across this spy plane that's in international air, but next to the Russian border, and they clearly try and buzz it, basically to get it, to show they mean business. One of the Russian jets then released a missile at a distance, Wallace told lawmakers then, but he did not describe the incident as a near shoot down, attributed the missile launch to a technical malfunction, and said he had spoken with senior Russian defense officials about it. So whether this was an intentional kind of like fire a shot over their heads, that's the thing, like what you do with a gun. Because, I mean, not you, but somebody that's more of a maniac would do with a gun is you shoot over the person's head to show them, hey, I fucking mean business. Well, so whether this was that or this was literally an accidental whoopsie, hit the trigger, which somehow can still happen. I don't quite understand why and I realize this is Russian, but the U.S. seems to do this shit too. I feel like there should be some more precautions in there than just like, oh no, I was taking a leak and I hit the button that said kill the 100,000 people. I didn't realize, because my bad. But anyway, whether it was an accidental firing or it was a show we mean business firing, either way, again, this shit can lead to nuclear war, and there are no winners in nuclear war. It is a zero-sum game. We all die, or the ones that survive wish they hadn't. Okay? I mean, do you really, if you survive a nuclear war, and you're sitting out there in the wastelands, wandering around, wide-eyed, wondering how many Pop-Tarts you have to get through it, let's see, this will last me a solid week and a half if I really ration it. I'll save the strawberry for last because that's my favorite. What? I mean, in a true all-out nuclear war, like, it's a nuclear winter. Like, the crops die. it's like climate change, except we're doing that in, a span of 50 years, and this will happen in a span of one. It's horrific. And we've put ourselves on the brink of it. We've helped create a proxy war. We have created a coup in Ukraine, made them a vassal state, made them a puppet state, filled it with nuclear arms and not nuclear arms, but filled it with weaponry and NATO weaponry and U.S. weaponry on Russia's border. And even though they said, hey, that's a red line. That's a red line for us. That's going to be a red line. Hey, we'd like to say that's going to be a red line. Hey, you putting all those weapons there is really a red line. That's going to be a red line. We'd like to say this is a red line. That's the closest I can get to a Russian accent at the moment. Even though they say that again and again, we were like, is it though? Is it? And they were like, yeah, it actually is. And then it was. And then we go, oh, that's funny how close we are to nuclear war. Great. But again, we were lied to about this, or rather, they didn't even tell us that this happened. Under NATO's treaty, if a member of the military alliance is a victim of an armed attack, all members of the alliance will consider it an attack and collectively respond. This is how this shit spirals out of control so quickly. You have a military alliance. You have a lot of countries involved. You have a lot of young men, 20-year-olds flying fighter jets. Ask yourself right now. For those of you, for those of you who are 20, you might not really understand. But for those of you, let's say over 30, ask yourself whether you would trust a 20-year-old driving your car. Would you? Like when you drop it, I know this is only really common in LA mainly. I mean, it's the only place I've seen it like almost everywhere. But you have to valet your car a lot of the time because there's like zero parking in LA. And so you're like, fuck, $15 just to park? But anyway, do you really feel comfortable giving your keys to, even if you have a shit car, even you're driving a piece of shit, still, you feel comfortable giving your keys to a 20-year-old? I don't feel comfortable with a 20-year-old driving me in the elevator. When you get into like one of those hotels that's trying to seem really nice when it's not, and so there's still a guy there that pushes the elevator buttons, and you're like, "What? Your job is just to push the elevator button?" Anyway, if he's 20, I think he might crash us. I think we may end up crash somewhere on the side of the road or elevator box. I don't know. But so you have a bunch of 20-year-olds in jets, flying around, deciding whether to shoot at each other. And this is how you get nuclear war. But beyond just that, we were not told about this. We're not told when nuclear war nearly happens. We just live on blissfully while these idiots, these sociopaths, speaking of bad drivers, drive this nation and this world off a goddamn cliff. All right, let's go to another leak from the Pentagon Leaks. And I realize not all of these are from like yesterday. Some of these were revealed a couple of weeks ago, but I felt like it was better to do a larger segment, better to do something where I could go through a bunch of these that have been verified, that have gone through, rather than just like the moment this thing came out, run with everything. I don't know whether it's true or not. Who knows? But it's so I felt like it was better to do something like this. And so, yeah, well, I want to go through a bunch of these, but so here's another one from the leaks, from the Pentagon Leaks, that although it's covered by the mainstream media, it's largely been ignored. One shocking U.S. spying on its allies draws a global shrug. The Pentagon, these new Pentagon leaks showed that the U.S. is spying on many friends, allies, many around the world yet again. I mean, Snowden showed us that to begin with, and then the U.S. said like, oh, we're going to stop that. Let me tell you, I can, that's when it comes to spying on our allies, every time that comes up, every time it comes out, the U.S. goes, look, I'm not addicted. I can quit anytime I want. I just have to listen. I'm not going to spy on anybody anymore. From here on out, I'm taking it seriously now. And then we keep doing it. But the latest one, this starts off talking about the last time. The last time a trove of leaked documents exposed U.S. spying operations around the world, the reaction from allied governments was swift and severe. In Berlin, thousands of people protested in the streets. The CIA station chief was expelled, and the German chancellor told the American president that spying on friends is not acceptable. In Paris, the American ambassador was summoned for a dressing down. Oh, I'm sure that was real rough. The French yelling at the American ambassador, "We do not like this." Oh, okay, great. Brazil's president angrily canceled a state visit to Washington. However, it's been very different this time. The latest leak has again illustrated the broad reach of U.S. spy agencies, including into the capitals of friendly countries such as Egypt, South Korea, Ukraine, and the United Arab Emirates. Yeah, big surprise we're spying on Ukraine. I mean, we are basically in Ukraine, we're spying on them because we want to make sure our employees are behaving appropriately. I mean, when you own someone like we own the Ukrainian government, we want to make sure our employees are, that they're working a full shift. If we're going to pay their salary, we're going to send $100 billion over there. We want to make sure they're not, asleep at their laptop with the glasses on that have an open eye painted on the outside, so it looks like they're working when they're asleep. We're trying to make sure our employees over in Ukraine are doing their appropriate shit. Unlike in 2013, however, U.S. allies appear to be mostly shrugging off the latest examples of apparent spying. The governments of Egypt, Israel, South Korea, and the United Arab Emirates called leaked reports about their deliberations false or fabricated, but said little or nothing about the surveillance itself. I love that. Leaked documents show that the U.S. was spying on. Actually, I have a story coming up about Egypt, about what we learned from spying on Egypt, but another totally mind-blowing story. But so basically, the leaked documents come out. They say, hey, the U.S. was spying on, Israel and found out they were up to some shady shit and doing some things behind the U.S.'s back. And Israel said, that sounds fake. Doesn't really sound like me. It can't be true. And they said that, and then they never commented on the fact that maybe they don't want to be spied on. I mean, again, Israel is also our employees. So really, most of these countries are our employees. That's why they're not that upset over being spied on. They're kind of just happy there's no like Ring cameras installed in the men's room where they work, at the governments, at the UAE. They're like, you're not filming us in the toilets, right? Because other than that, I'm cool with it. But this is immense spying by the U.S. empire, yet again revealed. And even though this one article is New York Times, in general, this has not gotten much coverage. It's funny because this article by the New York Times is like, why is it getting a global shrug? Meanwhile, they have shrugged it. Mainstream media has shrugged it. The cable news has shrugged about it. They maybe did a little report on it, a little 3 minutes. CNN probably had 3 minutes 2 Tuesdays ago or something, and that was it. So while they go, hey, why is the world have a global shrug about this? This is probably the 1 or 2 New York Times articles about it. Meanwhile, Russiagate, which was completely made up, and we've seen again and again and again, and the proof that it was completely made up. New York Times didn't shrug about that, did they? Every morning, you break out your New York Times, and they're like, Russiagate! Having to invent new fonts to write Russiagate just to make it seem like it wasn't the headline from the day before. So New York Times knows how to not shrug about things, and they know how to shrug about things. They know how to ignore things and how not to ignore things. And they have chosen to ignore the exact story they're saying that the global elite are ignoring. So, that is the irony and the pathetic nature of the New York Times. But again, this is mass spying by the U.S. empire because the U.S. empire believes it I say we to remind, to kind of make the point that I'm an American living in America, American born and bred and all that good shit. But I haven't made any of these decisions recently. The ruling elite rarely ask me for my input. Instead, it seems they spend a lot of their time trying to make sure my videos don't get out. So there's that. At least I got that going. All right, I have a lot of stories, and I don't want to run out of time. In about 10 more minutes, this will be going to only rumble.com/LeeCamp and my local page, leecamp.net. By the way, if you're a member at leecamp.net, then at the end of this video, I will be answering some questions from leecamp.net. So if you're a member over there, feel free to post some questions or comments, and I'll try to get to a few at the end of this live stream. All right, so here's another leak that has come out from these Pentagon leaks about spying. The latest leak suggests U.S. is spying on the UN chief over Russia. The chief of the UN, not chief of Native American. Leaked Pentagon files indicate the United States was monitoring United Nations chief Antonio Guterres because it believed he was too soft on Russia after its invasion of Ukraine. During discussions on February, Guterres was undermining broader efforts to hold Moscow accountable for its actions in Ukraine, the leaked document alleged. But the point is not really Guterres' actions. Sorry. Excuse me. The point is not really Guterres' actions. The point, rather, is the fact that they were spying on him, the fact that they were also monitoring him, meaning kind of none of these people are safe. I mean, the chief of the UN, all of these global officials, they're being watched by the U.S. empire like the way the mafia watches, store owners to make sure you're going to pay. Yeah, you're not talking to other store owners telling them not to pay, right? I mean, it really is a mafia operation. And each of these headlines shows the level the U.S. has gone to monitor the people that they fear are even slightly going against the U.S. empire. And so here we see they've done it to the UN chief as well. All right, but this next leak is pretty amazing and actually kind of good news. Hold on one second. I got to clear my throat again. Sorry about that. I snorted a Taco Bell Doritos Loco taco earlier. It's actually, if you chop it up and snort it, you get a quicker high. So yeah, gets a little spicy in there. Sorry about that. All right, but this leak is pretty unbelievable. Egypt, which is an ally of the U.S., secretly planned to supply rockets to Russia. And this shows how much countries are standing up to the U.S. empire. Now, here's the thing. I'm anti-war, so I don't want Egypt sending rockets to Russia. I don't want Russia bombing people. I don't want Ukraine bombing people. I don't want the U.S. sending rockets to Ukraine. I think this needs to end at a goddamn peace table. Sit down at a fucking peace table. I don't even care what kind it is. It could be the kind where you fold out the little legs and it's just some cheap piece of shit. It could be $1,000 bullshit table that the people buy just to show off in their office and go, look at the table I got. I don't give a shit. Just sit down at a goddamn table and figure it out without killing anybody else. That is my stance. Call me crazy. Call me insane. That is my stance. So I'm not for any rockets to be sent anywhere. However, this does show how much the U.S. empire's power has waned, that we have allies sending or about to send. It appears they never end up sending them, although it's quite possible they sent them and it's just not in the leaks, meaning they did supply rockets to Russia. We just don't know about it. But either way, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi of Egypt, one of America's closest allies in the Middle East, not so much, apparently, one of the closest allies, we're told, in the Middle East, and a major recipient of U.S. aid, recently ordered subordinates to produce up to 40,000 rockets to be covertly shipped to Russia, according to a leaked U.S. intelligence document. And you know, just to clarify here, that's no small feat. That's no small amount. You can't sneak 40,000 rockets in your pants, you know, through airport security. That's an undertaking. That is a real move to the hoop by Egypt for Russia, sending them 40,000 rockets to help them in their efforts in this proxy war in Ukraine. As far as we know, they didn't actually send them, but that is a hell of an undertaking. You can't slip that in your carry-on bag. You know, if I put it between the shampoo and the conditioner, maybe they'll just think those 40,000 rockets is my shaving cream. I don't think it works like that. If I have it up my rectum far enough, if I have it up my rectum inside a canister that looks like a dildo, then maybe I'll get away with it. A portion of a top secret document dated February 17th summarizes purported conversations between Sisi and senior Egyptian military officials and also references plans to supply Russia with artillery, rounds, and gunpowder. So not just rockets, but also artillery rounds and gunpowder. In the document, Sisi instructs the officials to keep the production and shipment of the rockets secret to avoid problems with the West. Yeah, you think? Supposedly, Egypt is non-committal on which side they're on in this proxy war between the U.S. and Russia, and yet you think it might cause a problem with U.S. ruling elite, ruling sacks of shit if you're sending 40,000 rockets to Russia? But to me, this is more the part of this that you're not going to get from mainstream media, you're not going to see in this Washington Post article, is that this shows the incredible deterioration of the U.S. empire's power. And because I'm anti-war, and because the U.S. empire has caused immense death and destruction over the past several decades, and before in many ways, but we didn't quite have the reach in a lot of ways till World War II and after. I am for the shrinking of the U.S. empire to maybe, I don't know, so that it cared about its own citizens. So that instead of looking how we're going to crush every nation around the world that even for a minute stands up to us, that even just lifts a finger and says, could we have some sovereignty? Could we have just the first half of the word sovereignty, just like an SOV or something? Could we have something just like begins to stand up, and we're like, we have to take medicine from their babies to show them who's boss. I would rather they take that energy and, hey, let's help the American people. But of course they can't, because they are full-on sociopaths. They have no empathy for their victims. Both the victims overseas, both the victims that are killed by our bombs and our sanctions, and the victims at home, the domestic victims, those of us who are here and see our infrastructure breaking and drink water with chunks in it coming out of the tap. Those of us at home here driving over bridges that we don't know when they might collapse any day now. There's 54,000 structurally deficient bridges in America, and Kamala Harris just made an announcement that they're going to fix 9. Did you hear that? She said they're going to fix 9. So what's that bring that down to? 53,991 left to work on any day now. But at least those 9 are going to be tip-top. I'm going to go find those 9 that they fixed, and I'm just going to drive back and forth all day long. Woo! Here we go. Back and forth, the one working bridge in America. Anyway. So, and one last point I want to get here. Actually, I'm gonna do that over at Rumble. Talk about what our mainstream media has done that is horrific in this whole leak story and disgusting, and just shows how meaningless they truly are and whose side they're really on. Anyway, I want to get to that. I'm at rumble.com/Lee Camp. This will continue there as well as locals. So if you're watching on Rumble or locals, that will continue right now. And I will at least be answering a few questions at leecamp.net. That's the locals page. If you're a member there, you can throw your comments in the comment section. I will be answering a few questions there. All right. Just give me 1 second. Here's something to think about while I just fix the streams here. I thought about buying a wife beater the other day, but then I found